Good evening, Tallahassee. Welcome to your Monday edition of FSU Weather, back from spring break. Right now, we've got a gorgeous look over Doak Campbell Stadium. We've got those high clouds. The sky looks absolutely stunning. It's currently 58 degrees, partly cloudy, and the winds are calm right now, but it is very chilly outside. It was a very cold day in Tallahassee. Taking a look at our current radar, we see no precipitation on the map, but we do see some radar scatter from controlled burning in the forest. For tonight's conditions, it's going to be 35 degrees, partly cloudy, so we're seeing those close to freezing temperatures. It's very cold here in Tallahassee, almost mimicking some temperatures in the northeast. Tomorrow's forecast is going to be 72 degrees, warming up a little bit, mostly sunny, and some light winds, so tomorrow's conditions will be slightly better than today. As for tonight's headlines, we've got a chilly start to spring in Tallahassee, the difference between astronomical and meteorological spring, and this week in weather history. All that and more on FSU Weather.
Yes, happy Monday and welcome back from spring break, everybody. This is student meteorologist Evan Regan, and it didn't really feel like spring this morning, even though this was the first day of astronomical spring today. We got down to, I believe, 35 degrees at Tallahassee International Airport, enough for me to break out my winter jacket this morning. So if for some reason you were taking a picture of me earlier this morning in my winter jacket, that's a very rare picture to have, so make sure you save that, because maybe someday it'll be worth something. But we are actually going to have a pretty nice week of weather here in Tallahassee. By tomorrow, we'll be in the 70s again, and then we'll feel even more like spring and summer later on in the week. We'll be up into the lower and middle 80s by the end of the week. But Nico is going to give us a more in-depth look of what's going on around Tallahassee right now.
Thank you, Evan. I definitely pulled out my winter jacket today, and I also wore my beanie today. It was definitely really cold in the morning. Right now it's 58. Temperatures did not top above 60 earlier today, but it looks like we're going to have a really nice sunset with all these clouds. It's going to produce some really nice colors. So our current temperatures for the moment right now, as you can see, it's going to be in the 50s for most of the Big Bend. Temperatures did not go above 59 for this whole region, and pretty much all in the Big Bend was in the mid-50s for most of the day. As you can see here, the low today was 35, actually not too far from our record of 28, and definitely well below the average that was 75 degrees, the average high of 75. We had, again, we didn't top 60 degrees, and our low was well below the 49 average, and thankfully we were nowhere near those warm temperatures, although the last few weeks we had very, very warm temperatures, so this is a good change of pace and a nice cooler temperatures before we actually get into the springtime temperatures. So here we got some pretty strong northerly winds. Donaldsonville is getting 10 miles per hour. Tallahassee, it's a little bit less strong at 7, and in Apalachicola, it's at 8. And for our current satellite, we really don't have any precipitation in the radar, just a couple of forest fires that we've actually been seeing throughout the day. So that's what the radar is catching down here in the Apalachicola National Forest region. And as for our future radar, the only thing that is of note is that the winds will shift more from a northerly to an easterly pattern, but there will be no precipitation, perhaps some clouds passing through the region. As for tonight's forecast, it's again going to be very, very chilly with temperatures in the mid-30s, 37 here in Tallahassee, a little bit warmer down in St. Mark's at 41, and a little bit cooler up north in Thomasville and Bainbridge at 36. As for our daily planner for tomorrow, temperatures will start cool at 36, but then make their way up to 70 degrees later on in the afternoon. Definitely much warmer than it was today, and you can expect actually no rain, so it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow here in Tallahassee. And for our forecast, you're going to see 70s all throughout the Big Bend, a little bit cooler near the coast in the mid to lower 60s, but it's going to be absolutely perfect weather to go out and do any activities you actually want for the first day of spring. And for the rest of the week, as you can see, up until the weekend, it's going to be beautiful conditions. Temperatures in the highs in the low 80s and lows in the 50s. But then come Saturday, there will be some rain, but then it will clear up later on in the week. So, Spencer, how is it looking for the rest of Florida?
Thanks, Nico. Well, the rest of Florida is looking quite nice right now. As you can see here in Orlando, it's gorgeous, not a cloud in the sky. Same thing in Tampa, just a few clouds down in Miami, and very little to speak of out in Panama City Beach. Right now across Florida, we are seeing lovely temperatures down in the mid-70s, down in Miami, 75, 74 in Fort Myers. Although as we make our way more north, the temperatures do start to cool down, looking at 62 in Gainesville and 58 here in Tallahassee. So we have had that cold front move through the other day, which is why we had some storms and why we are seeing some much cooler and drier temperatures over these last few days. So you can see here where that dry air has come through the state, but has not quite made it all the way down to South Florida. So we are still seeing a dew point of 58, which is decently moist, especially for Florida, although a little bit on the dry side. Although dew points of 17 in Pensacola and 21 in Tallahassee, these are really low dew points, especially for March. So taking a look at the satellite for most of the state, not really too much to speak of, just some clouds off the Gulf of Mexico and off in the Atlantic, and just some remaining showers off in the southern part of the state. So in Miami, looking at temperatures over the next few days sitting roughly around 80 degrees, almost no chance for rain. It's going to be beautiful temperatures for those of you who are still on South Break and are planning to, spring break and are planning to be in South Florida. Similar in Tampa, 79 degrees tomorrow, Tuesday, and that will pick up into the 80s later in the week. And for Orlando, similar story once again. Beautiful temperatures, upper 70s tomorrow, up into the low and mid 80s later in this week. And for Jacksonville, looking at 60s, upper 60s tomorrow, and that's going to pick up into the upper 70s and to the low 80s over the next few days. And in Pensacola, looking at temperatures in the mid to upper 60s for tomorrow, and that's also going to pick up into the 70s as we get later in the week. And what kind of rain can we expect for the next few days? So over Florida, not too much really, just maybe half an inch to an inch here along the East Coast, the northern part of the East Coast, and a little bit out in the Panhandle. But for tonight's forecast, we can see temperatures, very, very cool temperatures up here in the Panhandle, looking at 35 degrees, almost freezing here in Tallahassee, 44 degrees in Pensacola, 44 degrees as well in Jacksonville. But as we make it into the more peninsular part of the state and more in the southern part of the state, we are seeing some significantly warmer temperatures compared to here in the Panhandle. But those temperatures are still cool for this time of year, looking at 62 degrees down in Miami, 50 in Fort Myers, even 40 out in Gainesville. And for tomorrow, we can expect to see temperatures in the low to mid 80s down in the southern part of the state and temperatures in the 70s in the northern part of the state. But tell me, Isabel, what does the rest of the southeast look like?
Yeah, so as Spencer said, I'm going to take a step outside of Florida and look at the whole southeast region. So I know we just got back from spring break. Unfortunately, it looks like we're taking a break from the spring temperatures that we've had in the last couple of weeks here in Tallahassee. So tonight, you probably realize, or today as a whole, you've probably seen that it's been a little bit cooler outside. It is 58 here in Tallahassee. Even down in Miami, it is 72, which is a little bit cooler than we're going to be normally expecting for this time of the year. It's springtime and all. So it's a little bit cooler, not much, but the whole southeast region looks like it's sitting right in the upper 50s, lower 60s. And as you can see, this wind direction, we're having pretty strong winds in Tallahassee at 9 degrees, but the biggest thing to look at is this clockwise rotation. Wow, right here. This is going to be as a result of the high pressure system that's going to be making the skies a little bit clearer, as you've probably seen if you live in the southeast region. And as I said, those clear skies, we're not seeing anything on the current radar here in Tallahassee or much of the southeast region. The only slight thing that we're going to be seeing is off the coast of North Carolina, a little bit in Virginia, but none of that's going to be hitting the big residential cities. So this water vapor system that's going through, we're going to see this rusty color is going to be the dry air that is moving through the southeast after that cold front that we've been seeing the remnants of the last couple of days. And the humidity associated with that, it's going to be a little bit drier here. Of course, we're going to be seeing some more humidity down in Miami, but for the rest, it's going to be a little bit drier in our region. And then as you move up the East Coast, it's going to get a little bit of humidity, not anything to be super concerned about. So the Storm Prediction Center, it is forecasting a non-severe system, and which is just going to be a little bit of weather that is happening up here in Kansas, but nothing that can be too disastrous, and it progresses a little bit more in the next days. So tonight's forecast, it's going to be a little bit cooler. It's going to be 35 degrees. We're going to be seeing some freeze warnings throughout the area. A little bit cooler than we're going to see in normal springtime temperatures. But tomorrow it's going to be a little bit warmer at 72 degrees here, a little bit cooler when you get to the north. Atlanta's 63 degrees, Little Rock, it's going to be raining in 52. And then, of course, the beautiful south of Florida in the 80s, upper 70s. So this is a really cool demonstration of that cool front that we saw move out here into the sea, and we're going to be seeing a little bit of precipitation, a little bit of cloud cover in the region. Our temperature is going to decrease, and then hopefully it's going to increase by the end of the week. Fingers crossed, though. So in Blacksburg, our friends to the north, Virginia Tech, my friends at Virginia Tech. So it's going to be a little bit cooler tomorrow than we should be seeing right now, but nothing like we've seen the last couple of days, and it's going to warm up in Thursday. So hopefully that means that springtime is moving in even up in the north. Same thing we're seeing in Nashville, Tennessee. It looks like spring is going to be coming in, but Aaron is here to tell us more about the oncoming spring.
That's right. Actually, interesting thing there to note. It's actually going to be cool tonight here in Tallahassee compared to at least the Nashville, Tennessee on Tuesday there with 47 degrees tomorrow, forecasted tonight across Nashville. But taking things back closer to home here, we have those upper level I think it's alto cirrus? No, that's not right. Those cirrus clouds perhaps above the lake there, currently sitting at 58 degrees here, which is cool for this time of year across Tallahassee and over the res as well. And hour by hour, we actually stayed pretty cool the entire day with those below average temperatures. We haven't said that in quite a while too, because we've been seeing above average temperatures before spring break. But here we go on the hour by hour. We stayed actually, by the noon hour, we didn't actually break 50, which is pretty significant cold for this time of year here across the Big Bend. Tonight's forecast, we're once again going to go down to those cooler temperatures with 37 degrees in Tallahassee and then 40s down by the coast there. And for that late night forecast tonight, perhaps if you're heading out the door, you make sure to bring that jacket. Make sure to bring that perhaps heavier jacket, especially as you go towards or past the midnight hour, as it will drop down into the lower 40s and upper 30s afterwards. And if you are taking a drive out, perhaps tomorrow actually might not be a bad day to have those the windows down there by the time you get into the afternoon, where it's looks like it's supposed to get into the upper 60s to low 70s here across Tallahassee. And if you are suffering from allergies, I know I do sometimes as well, that tree pollen is really high there with that red there and then also that mold too. So watch out for those, and ragweed pollen is relatively low. But what's the difference between astronomical and meteorological spring here? So astronomical spring lasts from March 20th to June 21st, and it is based off the Earth's position, at least on its rotation around the sun, or I should say the revolution around the sun. So it goes from the equinox to the summer solstice, and so it's strictly based off of position, opposed to meteorological spring, which has to do more with the annual temperature cycle. However, the dates do not change based on the year. So here is the spring and the vernal equinox here. So what happens is the sun's rays are hitting at almost a perfect, at least angle here across at least the surface of the Earth facing the sun. So you're not seeing that 23-degree tilt upwards or downwards as we will see, or as we do see during the summertime across much of the globe here. And again, here's a good illustration of that, where we have that equal, at least lighting across the surface of the Earth from the sun. But honestly, even though we are seeing that equal amount of light, it's still pretty cold, right, Priscilla?
Exactly. We see lots of cooler temperatures throughout the nation, especially compared to those higher temperatures that we had throughout late winter, which, we always got to rag on Punxsutawney Phil. He really lied to us there. We see 50s throughout the southeast and near freezing temperatures in the west and slight Midwest. 38 Salt Lake City, 54 in Seattle, even hitting 18 in Bismarck, North Dakota. So for our current dew points, again, sitting very dry throughout the nation. We've had a couple systems roll through, bringing some high pressure and making things feel very dry. We see, even a 10 dew point here in Boston, and 43 over in Seattle, 11 Bismarck, 35 Albuquerque. So the country is sitting pretty dry. However, as we move throughout the week, we're going to see some systems start to develop. Lots of high pressure here in the southeast, no cloud coverage generally, and then some clouds in Texas. But as we move to the west, that's when we see those storms, cloud coverage, and even a little bit of snow in the Pacific Northwest. for our SPC storm outlook, we've got a non-severe risk for storms for day 1, but as you head closer in, we see it's covering the entirety of Utah, Nevada, and a little bit of Idaho and Colorado. So for our upper level water vapor, we see lots of moisture here in New Mexico and into Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. And we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at those later with our weather chart. For our drought monitor, we see lots of dry conditions in Tornado Alley, especially throughout Texas. Things are looking pretty dry, especially over here in New Mexico. So again, if you're in these areas, make sure, stay hydrated. Things are looking pretty dry. And here we've got our beautiful surface map. Again, we see that high pressure system that I described throughout the southeast, keeping things pretty dry and cool. We've got a low pressure system, warm front in the Midwest, and then we've got 2 stationary fronts over here in the northern Midwest and in the lower portion over here. But again, there's a little bit of a high in between those and an included front, which is going to bring winds and storms. So again, if you're in those areas, be aware, make sure to keep watching your weather forecasts. And again, throughout the west, we've got lots of chance for snow, especially here in Colorado, where they've got a higher chance for roughly around almost over a foot of snow. So if you're in those areas, make sure to use your shoveling techniques that we've heard on the show before and watch out on the roads. For our rainfall forecast, though, things are going to be picking up throughout the week. We're going to see a chance for over an inch and even over a couple inches of rain in some areas throughout the Midwest, and looking over to the west in our western states and California. So that'll be nice to have some precipitation for those areas. However, for our active alerts, we've got lots of things going on over here. High wind advisories in Southern California, winter storm warnings, and even some flood watches in the southern states in the west. And something we haven't seen really too much this winter, sorry, it's spring now actually, freeze warnings and even a little bit of frost warnings in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina. So it's very cold. Make sure to warm up your car before you get headed out tomorrow. For tonight's temperatures, it's sitting pretty chilly across the nation, but things aren't going to continue like that as we head into tomorrow's forecast. We're going to see lots of things tend to warm up, especially in Texas. We see lots of red colors and greener colors over here. But again, the west is sitting pretty chilly. But now we're going to take a look at our spotlight state. So what state are we looking at today, Evan?
Well, we are going up to Michigan, up in the Midwest, and because they actually had quite an extreme heat wave about 11 years ago. I'm very tall on that camera right now, so hopefully we can shrink down a little bit. There we go. But we're going up to Michigan on this day in weather history across the Midwest. Back in 2012, they were experiencing temperatures perhaps 40 degrees above normal. Now, typical temperatures this time of year up north in Michigan, around the Lapeer area, are about 45 degrees. So 40 degrees above that is 85 to 90 degrees. So that's really just incredible. Even the daily low temperatures, their overnight low temperatures, were higher than their record daily high temperatures. That is mind-blowing to me. And monthly record high temperatures were set for March in many locations. Again, in Lapeer, Michigan, they got up to 90 degrees. That is just unfathomable for the month of March. And here's some of the setup as to why this was the case. Well, we had an enormous and strong, persistent trough out west. And what goes down must come up, or wait, what goes up must come down. I got that wrong. Anyway, in response to that, there was a big ridge in the eastern U.S., and that contributed to that warmth being pumped all the way up north to the Great Lakes region, including Michigan. So that's why we saw those temperatures 40, 50 degrees above normal. And you can see that here on our, this is the 500 millibar height anomaly map here for the 12th of March, and the 22nd of March. You can see how warm we are, how abnormal this was for this time of the year, and you can also see this on satellite as well. There's our big ridge here in the eastern U.S., and all of these storms were not, none of the storms were coming into this area to kind of knock those temperatures down, so that's why we had that kind of prolonged heat wave there of several days where there were well above normal. And the month of March was very warm in general for much of the continental United States. Many of these areas, all that red you see there, that is the record warmest March ever for those states. So plenty of the continental United States experienced record warm temperatures this month. Not just Michigan, plenty, extending all the way out into the plains here and also into the Northeast as well. So plenty of warmth for those dates there. But this is a much different story now. We are very clear on this map, and we're much colder as well, and I'll show you that more in the extended outlook for Lapeer, Michigan. And zooming in here, you can kind of see that they're actually getting a little bit of lake effect off the Great Lakes here, especially around Alpena up in northern Michigan, getting some lake effect snow there as well. So that's more typical for what we see in March, not 90-degree temperatures and sweltering heat. But as we go throughout the next couple days, we could see some more lake effect snow here in Michigan. We'll actually get a weak system moving eastward as well, bringing perhaps some rain showers to the area as we get towards Tuesday and Wednesday. So just be aware of that as well. Make sure you bring that rain jacket and umbrella with you. Tonight we're going to be chilly, especially by Floridian standards. In any case, we'll go down to 31 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Just a slight southwesterly breeze at 10 to 11 miles an hour. There's that weekday planner. So a lot different than what we saw 11 years ago, right? Sitting in the 50s for highs, so a little bit above average, but we could see that rain return for Wednesday and a heavier, more wind-driven rain for Thursday. That is the wettest day of the week. And when they drop down to around average in the middle 40s there for Friday, lows in the lower 30s there for the end of the week. But now Nico is going to talk about what we have going around the lifestyle forecast here in Tallahassee.
Yeah, taking a look at our live cameras from the Big Bend region, here you can see actually in the Sportsplex camera and Panama City, you can see some nice cirrostratus clouds that will actually create a really nice sunset. Definitely going to show out those orangey red colors later on tonight. St. George looks a little bit cloudier. Here you can see those clouds, those cirrostratus right here as well. And then Lake clouds. And it's going to be a really, really nice evening tonight. The temperatures have been pretty chilly. They haven't topped 60 degrees, been mostly in the 50s for most of the afternoon, and it started off a little cooler in the morning, but for the rest of the region, actually at this moment, it's 58 or 57. So current dew points, it's actually feeling a lot like winter. Believe it or not, it's the first day of spring, yet we have dew points that are in the lower 20s and teens here in Quincy and Donaldsville, so it's really creating those really dry conditions that we're more used to in the winter than we are in the spring. So since it is very clear tonight, we are going to have some very good conditions for stargazing, and we have a waning crescent moon. So if you guys are interested in stargazing tonight would be a very, very good night for that. And since we do have clear skies as well, we're going to have no delays actually here at Tallahassee International Airport. It's going to be clear skies for our pilots, and it's a similar story for the rest of the country as well, with actually similar temperatures as to Tallahassee for the rest of the country. In Denver's 54, in Los Angeles is 58, and pretty clear skies without any delays over there as well. As for our Stroger forecast, this is pretty sure the outside temperature, 35 degrees. So if you are going to Stroger tonight, please bundle up. I wore a beanie when I went to Stroger earlier this week, so it's definitely going to be chilly, but they are running the heater in today. I was there, I had to take everything off, so it will be nice and warm inside Stroger. As for tomorrow's forecast, temperatures will go back up into the 70s. It's going to be mostly sunny with a slight breeze from the east-southeast at 5 miles per hour, so it's around noon to later in the afternoon when you should start shedding those layers that you put on for earlier in the morning. And for walk forecast, earlier in the morning, 37 degrees might not be the best time to go walk your dog, but later on, as it heats up, it's going to be 55 at 11 a.m. Our furry friends will probably prefer that temperature as to the one early in the morning. And for our Florida State men's baseball, they play at Virginia. It's actually going to be pretty warm on Friday, 71 degrees. There is rain, so maybe if you are going to watch the game, jacket or bring an umbrella and go support our Knowles. Our softball is playing in Durham, North Carolina. The pregame at 4 p.m. is going to be 81. It's going to be very warm. But later, at around first pitch at 6 p.m., it's still going to be in the 80s, but it'll cool down slightly later on. And for our weekday planner, the next few days are actually going to be very beautiful with temperatures in the 80s as a high. So Heather, how is the rest of Tallahassee looking for the rest of the week?
You know, we had gorgeous conditions all day today, and what a way to end out the first day back from spring break. Absolutely gorgeous look over Doak Campbell Stadium right now. And conditions across the board have been slightly cooler than average, which has definitely been a nice change from the heat that we've been seeing. Here you can see some cooler temperatures corresponding with slightly higher cloud cover. So 55 in Thomasville, 57 in Bainbridge and Quincy, warming up near the coast. It's quite breezy here, 7 miles per hour in Tallahassee, 10 miles an hour in Thomasville, keeping things nice and chilly for us here. And in the radar is looking very, very clear. What's being picked up down here is just some smoke from prescribed burns. So nothing in terms of precipitation for us here. For the next few days, the radar is going to be very, very clear, maybe some scattered clouds, but not much in terms of precipitation, and some slight breezes continuing on. And overnight tonight, the low is 35 degrees with partly cloudy skies and a slight breeze. So these temperatures are very much below average from what we've been seeing recently because of a cold front that recently came in. Tonight, those temperatures will be continuing to be below average, slightly warmer near the coast though, 44 in Carabel, 41 in St. Mark's, and cooling off as we move further inland. Tomorrow, cooler temperatures are persisting again. 42 starting off very chilly at 9 a.m., but quickly warming up once the sun comes out, up to 68 degrees. And for the week ahead, those cooler temperatures will persist through Tuesday, but quickly warming up as that cool front moves out of the area. And so 80s for the remainder of the week, with a slight chance of rain coming in on Saturday. And that chance of rain will be persisting through Monday. And overall, just for this weekend, bring an umbrella just in case. Better to be safe than sorry. But now I'll hand things over to Aaron and Spencer to close out the show.
Thanks, Heather. It's been a cold day, actually, for one time here across Tallahassee. Of course, we've been talking before spring break about the warmer than average temperatures, and we actually didn't break 50 degrees until after 12 or after the noon hour this afternoon.
Yeah, that's crazy, Aaron. I know for me, being from South Florida, being from basically right next to the Everglades, I know you're from the Tampa area, we're used to some pretty warm temperatures. And we know typically by this point, once we start to hit spring, those temperatures pretty much start to warm up and they start to stay warm. So the fact that we're seeing temperatures near freezing, especially in the northern parts of Florida this time of year, that's pretty incredible, Aaron.
I know, especially with my 8 a.m. class. It was just, it definitely was a struggle there to wake up with those freezing temperatures across Tallahassee. Almost like hibernating weather, right, for us Floridian folks.
I know,
right?
I just wanted to stay in bed all day, but unfortunately, duty calls and I gotta go to class.
Right, and believe it or not, it's actually the equinox here. It's the first day of astronomical spring here across, well, the northern hemisphere, right?
I guess so,
Yeah.
Aaron. And you know what? I mean, we can only go up from here pretty much, because I don't think moving forward we're really going to be seeing too many days with temperatures near freezing or even in the 30s. So for those of us who have warm blood, I know that's something to look forward to. But if you guys are on social media, please feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, all of which you can find us at FSU Weather. And we're going to pass things off for a closing look at the show to Isabel at the wall.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in to our very first edition of FSU Weather after spring break. I'm just going to reiterate it one more time. We are going to be moving as of April 1st only to YouTube. We are not broadcasting it on anything else besides YouTube, and that is not an April Fool's Day joke. So this is one last look at the 7-day. So as was said throughout the show, it's going to be a little bit warmer throughout the week, and then once it hits Friday, this weekend is going to have some scattered storms. So I'm just going to leave that here. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your week.